You guys get a approval? Can I record? Do you guys get one of those?
Yeah.
All
Yep.
right. All right. Let me go. Let me pray, and then we'll get started with this review. Lord, thanks for this time for leaders that can make the call, and I pray for clarity and a direction for what we're doing. In Jesus' name, Amen. All right. Hey, so let's check in. We'll talk about the orientation a little bit, kind of review it. We'll talk about training in September with NGL, both year ones and year twos, if you have them. And then we'll try to be as clear as we can on what homework we're going to give them. That way we're all kind of on the same page, you know. And then we'll talk about a little bit about January. Hopes and plans for January, and then
Yeah.
Nailing down the next call, the rhythm of these calls, whether it will be first or third week of the month where we'll do the Zoom call, because we got a couple options. But since it's just us three deciding, we might just have to decide for everybody. Well,
Right.
everybody had a chance to give input, but here we go, right?
Yeah.
And then any prayer requests. But anyway, all right. So let's just check in. How are you guys doing in your home regions? What are you guys up to? What's hot on the plate? All that sort of stuff. Any one of y'all can start.
Yeah, I would say just obviously kicking off a new year. So, that's what's hot on the plate right now. Getting up and running. We just got on campus on a school that we haven't had access to in the last 2 years. We've been doing ministry there, but we just got it approved. I met with the principal, and that's been really, really cool and exciting for our leaders, and especially for our NGL, because our NGL will be at that school. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, other than that, I mean, it was just this excitement around starting off club. We're going to be doing an all Valley club. It's the first time that they've ever done this ever here in the Valley. And so there's this other ministry here called Big Red's Ranch, not Big Red like the soda, but Big Red's Ranch. And pretty dope. I mean, I met with the founder of that ministry, and he has a few hundred acres out here, and he has like his own camp that he does in the summer, like for kids around like Brownsville and Rio Hondo and like these little small towns right here on the border. And so we're going to be doing this huge like all Valley club there. And so that's some more excitement there. So yeah, that's what's going on in my world.
All right, cool. Marte got flagged down.
He dipped out, bro. He dipped out.
What he said, hey, what's up? He's like, late.
Yes. Hey, thanks for joining us, Marte.
Hey, Marte, glad to have you, bro.
Sorry, I saw a committee member earlier, and then just saw an old coworker / donor just now. So
nice.
Again, I didn't know I was in a hot place. I usually try to avoid these kinds of places because see people, Anyway, I would say for us, we're really excited about this year. We got a lot of cool stuff happening. From an NGL perspective, I'm just gonna be honest, just as an area director doing this, like I kind of went phew when Judd finally saw the email from Lindsay Patchell about the money. He was really on my case about that 10K stuff, and so that like made him breathe a little bit easier. And now he's like super pumped about it. You throw money at him, and he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." So which means like we went through hiring another person for the NGL. We had already told Dan Alexander that this guy would have been potential, but we hadn't gotten an answer from him yet. We finally got an answer from him, went through with it. So that's great. So we're at 2 first years and 3 second years, so 5 total, which to me for our region is a big number.
Hey, Marte, because we're still clear. Was it a guy, a male, or was it female?
It was a male.
So he was not at orientation, right?
He wasn't at orientation because he was serving at a camp in New York, unrelated to Young Life, but still doing some type of ministry. And he didn't get back from that camp until like the 5th or 6th or something like that. Like either we were in the thick of it or we were coming home. It was one or the other. But he met with, I was on vacation last week. He met with Judd and talked with Judd, and he's like a former club kid of mine, so we know him really well. And he got affirmed by Judd, and we still kind of need to do an area interview for him, just because of timing. Like that just didn't go very well. But all that to say, he's gonna come right in and do wildlife in our area, which has never been done before in Little Rock, from a multi-ethnic standpoint. So that'll be great. And then Ari, who's also in our area, is taking on the team leader role on the South Side, which is a big deal for me because I've been the area director of Southside Little Rock for a long time and not had like a staff person to take that over. And so now I'm giving her a little bit more responsibility, and trying to cast some vision of staff associate potentially being Southside area director, or staff associate turned into Southside area director in the future. So hold on, my wife is interrupting me. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much.
Hey, wives tend to do that sometimes, bro. They have full grace to do that.
Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much all that's happening. Excited about Alexis in North Louisiana. We don't have anybody in South Louisiana yet, and so I'm just praying that they can continue to cast vision and catch vision to get one or two folks excited about doing Young Life, doing NGL in South Louisiana. So yeah,
that's awesome. And you know what's funny is Marte, you said, and Daniel, you probably think this is funny too, bro, that when Judd goes, oh, the money's in, and then all of a sudden he's excited, right? Dude, when it was from the SVP mandating that RDs did the fundraising, ADs, when they heard that had happened, they used to get excited. All of a sudden they're nominating people left and right? And it's like, as soon as the money lifts, all of a sudden the excitement lifts, right? And it's like, it doesn't matter if you're a staff associate, area director, regional director, that money blanket.
Money talks.
Man.
Yeah. Money, baby.
It's funny how they get excited, right? Oh yeah, man, we're gonna find the right, It's funny, man. But anyway, it is a big deal. It is a big deal that Nationals behind it and this sort of thing happen. Mm-hmm. Your new hire that's coming in late is not the only one. I was called this week about 2 that are late ads potentially in the Cimarron region. There's another one potentially adding in the West region with Orlando. Actually, Orlando, even though he stepped back from training, he's got a candidate in his own town, his new town.
Nice.
And so he's going to try to train them directly because it directly affects his area. So, but you know what I mean? Like there's some late ads, and I think regional directors are happy to do it because they know. Now it puts a little strain on us because they all missed orientation. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they missed everything that came with that, and so we'll figure out a plan to get them caught up. There's no way to get caught up with the relationships that they missed on starting right until January, but at least maybe the homework assignments and everything they might be able to get caught up in. You know what I mean? So that's where we're at on that. Okay, cool. Hey, let's talk about orientation a little bit. If you guys can just in 30 seconds, maybe give me a couple things that you know went well, and then a couple things that you know we could now keep in mind, things that we can do better when it comes to Abrilia's here. Hey, Abrilia, can you hear us? anyway, keep in mind when you talk about, hey, what can we do better? If it has to do with the joining of the other division, that's gonna for January, we're gonna be our own division doing our retreat, and maybe even moving forward. Hey, Brillia, how are you?
Hey, how are y'all?
Good, good, good.
Hey,
Okay.
We're
No,
just
you probably giving updates, and I'm getting caught up.
yeah, we're just getting caught up. We're gonna review the orientation, everybody, and you weren't there, so this will be good for you to hear.
Okay.
But like I said, highs and lows, things that we can work on. Even well, if it's about clunkiness about our collab with Southwest, again, we'll be alone, so that might go away. But Marte, Daniel, thoughts, and then I'll give mine too.
What is it that's going away?
Collaborating with Southwest on a retreat for January.
Okay.
We'll be doing our own retreat.
Okay.
Daniel, Marte, thoughts? Orientation, highs, lows, something to work on.
yeah. I thought the weekend was, I thought it was great. I thought a lot of my folks really love John Evans. I know we were a little bit worried about where to plug him in just because of the heaviness of his talks and what he was going to talk about, but they really enjoyed that portion, especially Ari, who is gifted with like therapy and counseling and all of that stuff. So she really ate that up. I really thought the whole weekend flowed well. Like it didn't feel, even though we extended into Saturday, it didn't feel exhaustive. The information didn't feel like overload. I thought it was just really good flowing. The kind of parking some entertainment right in the middle of it, thought that was great too. The only thing me and Fred kind of struggled a little bit with, like when we had the book discussion, the first one, it's just because some of our guys didn't have books yet, and I wonder if there's a more efficient way to figure out books, or like maybe that's probably on my end. Like maybe I can buy books and just have like a boatload of books beforehand, so we can kind of hand them out once folks get hired, or when the like second years, like we can start mailing books out in June or something like that. But we didn't have like questions and things like that as pertaining to the book. We just more so introduced, which may have been better. Like we did more of an introductory into the books and that sort of deal. And so I thought that was great. I love the small groups as well. Like I think the interns enjoyed the small groups too. I think that helped them process things more. I think that gave them a little bit of a break from the information that they were getting. To be able to talk through and process with people from other cities and towns, and I thought that was great too. I don't know, this one, it just keeps getting better and better. I'd put it that way. The orientation and retreats, they just, with more thought going into how we do things and how we function, and I think the chemistry of the team is coming together as well. Like I just thought it was overall a good week.
Awesome. How about you, Daniel? Anything different? Anything you want to add?
No comments. No, hey, no, I think the scheduling was all right. I mean, I feel like it could have been better in some areas. I do like the breakouts that we did. Kind of like what Marte was saying. Like I feel like that was a good time for us to have our people if they had any questions or they're struggling with anything, that was a good time that like we were able to.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the breakout. Yeah, when we broke out. So like, that was cool. I mean, I really did enjoy that. Probably was one of my favorite parts, just because you're with the interns and you're, I think we've discussed a lot about it, offline on the sense of like what we, what I think could have been better. I feel like it's such a blessing to have like Christina there, in the sense of like having an administrator there who's like working, who could answer questions, getting the bus, you know what I mean? Like that lifts up a lot of work on our end. I really enjoy that. I just feel like somehow, some way, again, and this is just crossing the divisions over. It's just the communication lacks. And it's hard to get answers, or what I mean. Like things I'm struggling with, even still trying to clean up the budget piece of it, right? So
Right.
I feel like there's a lot of cross communication between, like, who do we go to? You know what I mean? Like, we go to you, you go to her. I'm talking to her. I'm talking to Alberto. It's like we just need to clean that up. So I think just getting more in control of that would be better for us. I feel like John Evans. I mean, I love John Evans. He's a dear friend. He's great. I just think that for our group, being young, it was a slow morning. It was hard to kind of stay awake in that. Not that he was putting me to sleep, but he did put people to sleep for sure.
That one dude in the front row, bro.
2 dudes in the front row.
Oh.
So yeah,
Abrilia, there
wasn't there for
were
Saturday.
screenshots being shared. Let's just say that. Oh God.
I dipped out Saturday. That's another thing that I would say too. I feel like I was talking to Fred about this too. He and I were just kind of like on the same page of like, man, like if we're gonna stay all day Saturday, then we need to have the interns leaving Sunday morning. You know what I mean? And so like I think, and I understand like the hotel is already under contract from January and all that. I get that. I just feel like it was like this hard work. I mean, I left early Saturday, but from what I even heard, it's just like, man, people were dipping out at 9, 10, 12, and it's like we had up to 5 o'clock on the schedule of, discussions and whatnot, on the schedule. So I just feel we need to do a little bit better on the scheduling and be all hands in and like, okay, are we going to do this? And are we going to do a hard stop and then everybody leaves on Saturday night, or everybody's leaving Sunday morning? Like, those are just little nitpicky things that, with scheduling that I feel like we could work better. And that goes back to communications. So
yeah,
I feel like, I will say I was a little, I mean, I feel like you guys, not pointing fingers or anything like that, but I'm just saying like in the sense of like Marte, myself, I think Katie and Fred like got there like all the day before, because that's what was told of us. And it's like, dude, I wasted a full day sitting at a hotel room, being charged 1 extra day. You know what I mean? Like it was, I think that was an S show, honestly. Our meeting that morning, nobody showing up, but us that were there, I think that was a shit show also. Sorry for my language, but like there's just no structure. And so it's one of those things where I was honestly kind of like, man, I could have showed up Thursday afternoon, with my interns. And so that I just feel like that right there kind of was one of like the biggest things that I was like, dude, we need to work on communication.
Yeah, that the first day that was tough with all the meetings being botched and all that, and absenteeism because of all kinds of different reasons. But yeah, I agree, Daniel, on that. I feel bad for that. And then also let me add a couple other things that you guys maybe hadn't mentioned. Yeah, I do think John was his content is so good. I think that carried him. He is a little tough for a younger audience. Yeah, I agree. Just because the length.
Even 3 the whole entire time.
And even 3.
Stayed at a 3.
Yeah, just mix in a 6 now and then. It might help. But yeah, it was an even 3. But still, the content is pretty good. And but we'll just have to address that because I had forgotten how he was as a presenter. It had been years since. I just remember the content, because the content is what stuck with me, not so much his delivery. But then having been there, his delivery was like, but still, I still think it was a net positive. You know what I mean? Like I think interns might come away with some of that good information, like you said, Marte.
Well, my NGL are still, they still talk about it. You
Mhm.
know, like
Yeah.
I think the content that he taught was crucial for our team and for their, they're going through so much right now, especially coming out of a COVID year. You know what I mean? Like
I do.
there is so
Yeah.
much trauma, and I feel like the content was an A plus. It's the delivery.
Yeah. So we can come up with alternatives for that maybe in the next orientation. Um, I agree with you guys on the schedule being not as the Saturday. Actually, we didn't end up late. We actually ended early, Daniel. I don't know if you knew that, but we ended like 2:30 or 3 o'clock. So it wasn't as heavy a day. Them leaving had the whole second half of Saturday to do what they wanted to do, whether they stayed or left. So it might even been earlier than that for people to make flights. But in any case, yeah, there was some handcuffing with the contract that we had from January, so that made it a little bit weird. I would say I would agree that Christina's presence as an admin did help a lot. I would also agree that if there was two Christinas, it would have been even better. You know what I mean? Like just someone delivering and someone working. Like it's a lot of information. But maybe splitting the whole group in half, us doing just our division in January might lighten the load to where one admin's presence might be sufficient, so we'll see. But we'll keep that in mind because there's just a lot of moving parts when there's that many people. I would say one of the lows for me was our worship time. I mean, it was only once Thursday, but what was the gal's name from Houston? She was actually pretty great. I thought she was great.
She was dope.
Yeah, my man Torian Abrilia, he did his best, but then he had his whole keyboard set up. They did sound check, they rehearsed, and then right before they're about to start, he puts the keyboard away, and I go, what's up? What are you doing? He goes, he had like anxiety. Like, I don't know if he felt he wasn't good enough or something. I was like, Torian, I heard you rehearsing. Like, what do you mean? We're about to start. And so it was just a very unplugged sound for that set. And so I was like, oh man, it sounded so much better.
I don't even think I knew that he played the keyboard.
What's that?
I said, I don't even think I knew that he played the keyboard.
I didn't know either until that week, but that week leading up to it, he was sounding pretty confident. And I think he had led at somewhere, a sign team training or something, maybe not sign team training, but some other event. And I was like, okay. And I heard them rehearsing and I thought they were going to do great. And then when he chose at the last second, I was like, oh no. So it had like a hollow, like an empty ness to it. So we'll figure that out next time. We'll get a better squad for worst team. That was only 20 minutes of this whole thing. But also, Marte, the book, I think you're right. I think having the books maybe pre-ordered in bulk might be the lick moving forward, to be able to just say, hey, off the shelf and say, hey, here you go. Here's your hiring packet. Here's your first book, etc. But the small group discussions, I think, was a huge win too. We hadn't done that before. And that camaraderie you build with some interns, that's pretty special. I think we'll build off that moving forward. Maybe even do more small group woven in moving forward. So that's pretty good. All right. We missed Abrilia. I know that. She was
Yeah, I was still on assignment, unfortunately. Not unfortunately. Like, the end of the assignment was actually really great. But yeah, I think I hadn't gotten a chance to really like check in with you guys much during that week either.
Yeah.
But definitely know that y'all were being prayed for. Ed was also on assignment with me. He would have been at orientation for his second year. He's in Bandera, Texas. And so he was one of our work group bosses with me as well. And so we kind of talked a little bit about it while it was happening. He was like, man, I feel like I'm missing out, and all that kind of stuff. But
I didn't know
So
he
we got to kind
refers
of
to
like check
himself
in.
as Ed now.
Mhm.
Ed. You ever heard that
Yeah.
one, Daniel? Hey, Ed.
No, I haven't.
Oh well, yeah. That's definitely how he was personifying himself while we were there.
That's
Um,
funny. I didn't. I'm gonna start calling him Ed now. Good to
Yeah.
know.
Hey, Ed.
that's but
Uh,
yeah. But it was other than that, I don't think, and I hadn't really heard anything either. So this is just me kind of getting the first like follow up for the most part. Outside of checking in with Tim very briefly, but yeah.
yeah, and then the pin stack thing I thought was really fun for them. I mean, I thought they just the only thing I think that might
Bowling.
yeah, bowling and really they only did bowling because of the time, but they had access to laser tag and ropes course, and they could have done all kinds of stuff. It was actually a pretty cool uh, credit card that they were given. But I think there just isn't enough time to do all that stuff. We hung out for a couple hours, I believe, after even eating, and they were content just hanging out and bowling, and it was fun, dude. But
That was a big hit too.
yeah, I was gonna say the only
What was
thing I
that,
would have
10?
considered doing different is surprise them with it, kind of like at all staff. That would have been even
Yeah.
more crazy.
Yeah.
But we chose to tell them in advance. But it's all good. Um, all right, cool. So, like I said before, we're gonna do our own retreat in January. It'll be a lot less people because Southwest will be on their own. We'll be on our own. It'll hopefully clear up a lot of the confusion administratively on some of those things. We'll probably be closer to 50 people versus 110, and so South Padre is what we're aiming at, and we'll try to get a little bit more details for the next call as far as like
South Padre for location.
for location, yeah.
Okay.
And so, I mean, everybody's going to have to travel on that one. Even y'all down south, bro. That's not not everybody is right next door. How far a drive to South Padre is it for like you guys?
For Houston, it's 6 hours. For San Antonio, it's 3 hours, 4 hours from San Antonio, because it's a little further south, right? We're looking at South Padre Island.
And then you got people from
So yeah, those people they'll fly in. I mean, the Valley and Marfa, El Paso area, they have to fly in everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So there's actually 2 airports they can fly into. There's the Brownsville Airport they can fly into if they're going to fly, and there's also the International Harlingen Airport. So yeah, from the airports, they're both. It's about a 30-minute drive either both sides. So
okay, so even though we were saving money by not doing a retreat like out of state, like California or something. I mean, Marte, y'all are always out of state when we're in Texas stuff, but sometimes not even that far, right? If we're in Dallas, but
out of division, we'll put it that way.
Out of division, that's right, out of division. But hopefully the flights aren't as bad going into South Padre. Hopefully we can get cheap flights because it is low season, right? It's January. Might be able to get some good deals, and then we'll try to do a nice little 4-day. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that weekend is the only weekend that there's not any other than Sunday, late Sunday. Is it the only weekend that Young Life training isn't happening? As far as like new staff, winter training, all the other ones.
yeah, like if anybody's taking if any of the directors or people leading are taking like Christology and pneumatology and Old Testament, the 22nd is the beginning of that at Sharp Top.
That's
so that's the only concern, because I mean, granted, we'll probably end Sunday morning or Saturday night, the retreat, but it's like a quick turnaround from like leaving the retreat going straight to Sharp Top.
Yeah. And so whoever does that, and Daniel, obviously you're one of those. If there's anybody
Yeah,
else,
obviously.
Yeah. Hopefully you'll feel rested going into that as opposed to drained. I mean, we'll be at the beach hopefully that'll feel like a nice kind of bridge into a week of biblical training. So anyway, let's move on to and we'll get some updates as we go, as we solidify more about the location, the hotel, the logistics and all that for that in January. But anyway, let's talk about September. We got year ones and twos. I have most of us training on the week of the 21st. Well, that's not the week of the 19th through the 23rd. So Wednesday is when we train on the 21st. Daniel, is yours on a Wednesday? Everybody that has to do Zoom or remote training, it could vary. Doesn't always fall on that Wednesday. You know, some people, they do recordings or they Zoom people in there with a more diverse schedule because people travel in a wider region. Marte, I'm not sure what day you guys do yours. Is it also Wednesday?
We were doing Thursdays, but like I was telling you in that text message, well, we still have more than enough time to send a message out and say, hey, we're going to do this day to align with the division instead of this other day.
Like I said, whatever you guys run your calendars best you fit with your interns. So if it's any day that week is fine. And heck, we like to be in the same week, but even if it's off by a week, whatever, as long as by the next month we're all on the same page, that's really the goal. And so, so that when we do our monthly calls, we're all planning ahead for the next month, and we're not like off by any sort of couple weeks or whatever. We could all be on the same page. So with that in mind, I'd like to just kind of quickly, I won't go be exhaustive, but just kind of quickly talk about September's training, which is about a month away for all of us. Year ones, just to do a quick review, we're going to ask them to give, you know, obviously we always check in and then give a devotional from month to month. We start our trainings with that. Sometimes the training is the devotional because we may break down a passage of scripture that's key to their spiritual identity thing. And so it works out that way, and it could be serve as both. And so I was looking at the curriculum from years past, and that's the case for September. For year ones, we discuss 2 Peter 1 through 11, and it's on identity, and that could serve as the devotional as well. But there's a page in the curriculum, and I'll send all this to us to review so that you can review it going into and divide. You know, if there's multiple trainers in your region, if you guys pair up, if you have guests or whatever, you can kind of decide, okay, who will lead this piece, who will lead that piece. But there's the 2 Peter set of questions and bullets on identity. We're going to ask them to begin to do scripture memory again, start off the year with that. Colossians 1:15 through 20, which is what we do every year. But we started last year doing the cluster writing versus the actual memorization testing, and have them submit that as actually a homework. So in the process of trying to memorize, they'll do the cluster sheet. I'll send that out as well as a reminder or a review of, oh yeah, this is how it looks. This is what we're asking of them, all on their 5-verse scripture memory. And then the last thing is the book discussion. You know, so we would have had them read their first few chapters in their given books. If they're doing Being Latino in Christ, after every chapter of 1 through 3 has a set of questions. They're only asked to do 2 questions of the set per chapter. And then if they're reading The Cross and the Lynching Tree, those first few chapters, they would write their takeaways on that as well. If you just refer to the last email that I sent out that has the breakdown of what sort of write-ups we asked them to do, it's all in there. So those 3 things, the scripture discussion doubles as the Devo, the scripture memorization rollout, how we do it, why we do it, and then the book discussion. That easily can take an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. And then you have, checking in with them and updating where they're at and so forth. And that's what we got for year one. So you guys have any question on that? It's pretty basic. It's stuff we've done in the past. Now that this is all under the NGL umbrella, it actually isn't changing much for what we're doing. A lot of, if not all of what we're doing in the South Central has been the model for the rest of the country and how we do our training and so forth. It's just kind of repackaged and how they label it. But the things we're delivering is on point with the NGL model. So if you guys don't have any thoughts on any of that, I'll just review quickly the year two training. How many year twos do you guys have, Daniel, in the South? 2, and Marte has at least a couple too as well.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself fast enough. That's what I was like, yeah,
That's
2.
good. Yeah,
Yeah, we got
mouse
3.
is like way far away, bro. You got 2 as well, Marte?
We got 3.
3, okay. So the NGL 23s, which is the year twos, again, same thing. Give us a takeaway from the retreat, something that they might consider doing different. Getting feedback from them is good. This is now their second orientation. Many of them. There's a scripture sheet in the curriculum for year twos, and it's about identity in Christ. So there's some commonality in year 1 and year 2. It's about identity, and I'll send that as well. It's got about 7 or 8 questions on it that we discuss. It's a nice discussion on different passages in Ephesians, Corinthians, and so forth. But so we do the discussion on identity sheet. We do the spiritual inventory comparison. We'll see if we can dig them up for them. They would have hopefully have done a spiritual inventory homework assignment back in year 1. If not, they'll just be doing it for the first time. But ideally, it's taking your year 2 spiritual inventory sheet as a homework assignment and then comparing it to your year 1 spiritual inventory sheet. So that's something we discuss. They'll also have a scripture memorization cluster homework, and theirs is Philippians 2, 1 through 4. We'll send that out to you guys as well to look over. And then there's also book discussion. So there's Santa Biblia for year 2s, doing Hispanic reading, and then the other one for African American leaders year 2 was Eric Mason's book. So and the breakdown of that is also in that last email. So those are the book discussions that should also take a majority of the training time for year 2s. Should be down pretty basic. Spiritual inventory, the book writings, and then scripture memorization. So any thoughts on any of that for training?
Hey Tim, you said you sent an email out.
Yeah.
What email are you talking about? Because I'm trying. That's what I'm looking for right now.
Okay, I
Just
sent
kind of
it. It was before the orientation.
The leadership. Okay.
You see.
Yeah, it was maybe like a couple weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, it was sent on July 26th, so it was before orientation, and so
July 26th.
Mm-hmm. And it's titled NGL Orientation in Dallas. So it has on there what their readings would have been for orientation, but that will still carry over.
Gotcha.
September meeting,
Yeah. I was just making sure I wasn't missing something. So yeah, I've seen that email, and
that one had the more detail on the books. My most recent email to you was just about the Zoom call, so that one had more detail.
Hey, I don't know if we already have this. I think I mentioned this to you before. I have what you were talking about. I have like the old school DFL, curriculum, packet that we have. but I think it'd be good like if that gets updated and somehow like in like a Google Doc that could be sent to like all of us as directors, like the AAL piece and the LSS piece.
Yep.
I think I just remember like when I had Kesley Dickerson on my African American girl who was like in our region, but I don't have anybody Black that could train her up. It would have been really good for me to be like, oh, let me check out what can I lead, and then in those hard conversations I could call up Abrilio or Fred, you know what I mean, like, which they have been great and they've done that in the past where I could have those tough conversations. But I think it'd be really good if there was like some kind of Google Doc with all the curriculum,
Yep.
that just says NGL and nothing like, oh, Dallas or Houston or South Texas, like
Yep.
just simple that everybody could use. That's kind of just, across the board. So that might just be a thought for, maybe next semester. But like, just so that like if Marte's leading somebody, he's on the same page and, vice
Yep.
versa.
Yeah, and I think that that transition actually already has begun. This new writing it wasn't being put on Google Doc, but that's actually a good thought, so that it's streaming. You can have it anywhere. But the only delay on it was just in case in the NGL rollout, if something needed to be added or something needed to be renamed or anything like that, we were waiting on that. But now that it's close to beginning, everything being official, I mean, there hasn't even been a real national email put out that I thought they would have done back in May, June, and we're in late August. So, but yeah, I agree with you, and we'll spit out the bone and keep whatever simile you want to use. Throw out the baby bathwater, spit out the bone, or whatever. Throw out the good stuff, keep with the good stuff, throw out the bad stuff, and give you guys a definite curriculum. Now, I will say this, Daniel, as far as training goes, I would say the only thing that should stop you or that might hinder you from training somebody of a different culture, different race, is only if there's insight from a book that you feel you might need help with. But when you talk about the 4 training buckets, personal professionalism, spiritual health and development, young life basics, 4 C's, that's 3/4 of what we're training them. You, as a trainer in your region, have what it takes to get her to the 20-yard line as it is. And even the book discussions, there's a lot of insight you can give just on fundamentals and reading cultural books, and there's some cross-cultural things we can identify with in training. But I do hear you on that. It's good to have some other help. I'm blessed to have Abrilio here in my own region, right? I know that when Daryl was involved, that was a blessing to have his insight, or Nate here. And so I get what you're saying. And I know that in somebody's region like Marte, if he needed like a Latino voice, it might be challenging for him, right? Or down the road. And I'm not sure how it is for them in Houston. I think Houston's well staffed as well to handle those things. But I think we may be handcuffing ourselves too much if we think we don't have the right person to discuss some of this stuff. I think we maybe unlock our abilities to do most of the training. And
Daniel, you said you have 3 for year ones this year?
I'm sorry, 3?
Yeah, you said you have 3 year ones?
No, I have 8 year ones.
8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
And what's your breakdown?
Are you talking about like culturally? Like they're all Latino.
Okay.
Yeah. So Kesley Dickerson was my only within this past 2 years or so. But she is no longer part of the NGL. She got a staff associate position in Bernie. So that's pretty cool. Like she went from being an NGL year 1, rocked it, you know what I mean? And like they loved her so much they hired her right after the summer. So she's officially a staff associate.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just trying to say or not going to say, but just to have some additionals if I need to like be on the lookout for them or whatever.
No, I don't have any. I'm speaking hypothetically for future. I don't know if Marte's in that boat or Greg is in that boat. You know what I mean? Like I do know Greg is in that boat, right? Like Greg has a Black person in his. I don't know if male or female,
Multiple.
but you know, we kind of had that. Yeah, we had that conversation too of like, well, we're just gonna, we're gonna lead it ourselves, and then if there's any tough conversations that need to pop up, and that's what Tim is saying too. Like we could lead the majority of it until the book discussion, but there are some things that like I can't connect with Kesley about, and if you remember back in May, you know what I mean, or April, we had a tough conversation, and so it was, and it was a cultural conversation, and I was like, I can't relate to you. I'm not a Black woman, right? So that was hard. So, but that's when you come and play, and Fred and Daryl, he's helped out in the past, and so.
And I think that it could be. I know everybody has always voiced their willingness to be a part of the team to help. Hey, man, let's offer up a Zoom call, or hey, we're doing this training at this time of the month. They could jump on. All of that stuff sounds good and sounds like we're all working as a team, but sometimes logistics can make it difficult, and everybody has different schedules and all that. So I think if we could figure out a way to have a standard for something, a generic standard for assistance on some of that stuff, maybe just phone calls, having direct phone calls, because they are not big numbers. It's usually a few numbers, and then maybe we can address them case by case, but it is something we need to address. And so I appreciate it continuing to be voiced, because we'll try to figure it out, because I bet you this problem is not only happening in our divisions, happening everywhere, and it's going to happen everywhere, because we just don't have that diverse of a staff across the divisions and country. We're going to wrap up here in a second, so let me just go to the last thing here. Talked about the retreat, Daniel. Hey, do you guys have a preference for, I had put a suggestion for our call being on obviously Thursdays will work at this time, 10 a.m., but is there a preference for anybody third Thursday or first Thursday? That was kind of the two options. If we did the first Thursday, we'd be right back on a call next week, which I don't know, that might feel like it's too soon. Otherwise, we'd be waiting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, because September in a weird way has 5 Thursdays on it. You know what I mean? So that's why I had suggested a third Thursday of the month. That way it kind of like, it feels like it's every 4 weeks. But if you prefer first Thursday, like I got a text from Greg a little while ago on that topic, and he preferred the first Thursday of the month because his end of the months do you prefer that too, Daniel? Okay.
I think the first Thursdays probably would also serve us, just because if we're going to have them, I mean, minus potential South Padre, it would be helpful, because then Christmas also kind of gets in the way. Like some of those things, if we wanted one last meeting, it would be on schedule if we did a third Thursday. Both Thursdays work well for me. I think I could finagle Thursdays pretty well. But if I'm just looking ahead, if I think about even additional things for the spring semester, at least we could kind of get in the loop of having a meeting before those monthly meetings that we have throughout the year as well, if we needed to like kind of check in on anything looking ahead before we meet with our interns. And then even when it comes to, I know there's no like graduation date necessarily in the month of April yet. Okay. But that may be something that we could at least just be on schedule for if we do earlier in the month.
Yeah.
Just to kind of look ahead if there are any thoughts or questions as we prep for things coming like behind us.
It's a good thought. I appreciate that. That's good. Well, that's what I'll pencil in, is first Thursday of the month. I'm not sure if everybody's going to be able to make next Thursday, just because it's such a quick turnaround. So if not, it won't work out. But then the first Thursday will be then October, and at least we will have had one training in the books. Daniel had to dip out. He has another call at 11. So you guys have any other last requests or anything like that? Any prayer requests or anything like that?
I also have a quick question. I know I'm kind of coming in hot. Outside of our monthly meetings, and we can probably check in about that, Tim, but outside of those, is there anything else we need to be preparing for before South Padre as like a director's team that we can kind of be looking ahead for?
Well, once we know the parameters of our dates, we have a feel for it, but like going from 4 day to 3 days to 4 days, then we'll start to put the skeleton of the schedule. But yeah, I think preparing for, I would say we all would have a little bit more hands-on duties on this retreat than in the past because we're half the team now. It'd be, 7 of us running the whole thing versus 12 or whatever, because there's no Southwest. It'll just be us. And so we'll all probably wear multiple hats on the retreat, and it'll be things we've all kind of seen and done, be it administrative or just, and hopefully we'll have somebody, maybe Raina down in the South, that could help as an admin for that weekend as well. But we have time to figure that out. But we definitely, that would be the first thing I would say is yes. And we'll probably all have multiple duties that weekend. But in a lighter sense, there's less interns there and so forth. So, and we lost Marte.
Okay.
Me and you.
Okay. Oh, there he goes.
And you and I will meet as far as our local trainings. We'll meet one-on-one there at the regional office or at Todd Bush or something.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, Marte's back, but I was gonna say, I don't know if you want to put something on the calendar for us to kind of catch up too, just as we like prep for the year. I would be down to do that. Maybe do like a lunch or something.
Yeah. Let's do that.
I mean, we can schedule it after this meeting.
Yeah, we'll talk offline and get that done.
Yeah.
Marte, did you have any last thoughts?
No. Nope.
Okay.
Thanks for holding it down, man. I hope it went well.
Marte did great. He also did a great contact work session, which I heard great things, man. I heard it was awesome.
Oh man, yeah, that was.
That's a good one to lead. That's a fun one to lead. So we're going to be able to carry over that because that's in lesson 1. Contact work's going to be a big topic for year 1s in September. So, all right, let's wrap it up. Let me pray, and then I'll be sending y'all
I did. I'm sorry, you just reminded me. This is probably a longer discussion and probably can be talked about on our next call. But I really want to know how to. I feel like it's a really good tool. I just didn't use it well last year. And Greg spoke about it at the end of the contact work session, but the scorecard.
Yeah.
Like how to use that well and how to make that a part of a bigger thing for the region as like hey, here's Ari's scorecard. Here's what she's been doing over the past year. Or maybe not show Judd directly the scorecard, but like Ari's scorecard is filled up. Because to my knowledge, I think I read through some of the stuff I feel like I saw it somewhere with the direction and the national stuff that like scorecard is going to be more important moving forward. And so I didn't do a good job of that last year. I don't know if that's more of a personal thing or if everybody had experienced that as well, but I think it's such a good tool and I want to be able to.
Some did it better than others,
more.
For sure. But it was new. It was a new process. But I think logging time with kids in general is not new. This is just a new format. So that I'll include a nice summary write-up of instruction on scorecard usage. I'll include that in my wrap-up email. That way we can review it going into training. And we can roll it out all on the same page. That's good. All right, good. Well, thanks, you guys. We'll be in touch, Abrilia, real soon about a time for you and I to meet, and then everyone else. If you're watching this on recording, thanks for your time, and let me pray, and then we'll close out. Thanks, Lord, for this time with our team, those that can make it and those that couldn't make it. I pray that this semester, this year, be just a blessing for all the interns and all the regions and all our division. I pray that we have a fantastic training season and that we all feel empowered and equipped to do the best job we can. And so I thank you for friends and fellow laborers in the word. And I pray for a great year. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right, guys.
All right.
See you soon.
See y'all.